two nuclear-armed nations brought to heel by a conventionally armed regional power. Donald Trump has been threatening to resume the war ever since. Now, what's curious is that the statements made by the Trump administration usually come in the form of social media postings, but also the odd public statement. Now the president's saying he's going to, maybe strike Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't work that way. This president is lying. Threatening war, talking tough, getting the market to go one way, then declaring peace, getting the market to fluctuate the other way, banking the proceeds therefore. Hello and welcome to this edition of Ritter's Rant. Today we're going to be talking about war, the ultimate grift, at least as it's being pursued by the administration of Donald J. Trump, or should we just say Trump himself, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States of America. As you know, Donald Trump got the United States involved in a 37-day war with Iran, participating in a surprise attack together with Israel that was predicated on an act of perfidy, that is, using negotiations about what was claimed to be the most important issue confronting the United States and Iran, that is Iran's nuclear program. America is ostensibly concerned that it might have a military dimension, although the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has testified before the United States Congress that in the opinion of the United States intelligence community, Iran isn't pursuing a nuclear weapons program. But that's neither here nor there. There were negotiations underway, and the mediator, the foreign minister of Oman, was on his way to Washington, D.C. with a nearly finalized agreement that would have put to rest all of the concerns of the United States about Iran's nuclear program and the potential for military applications. But while he was in the airplane flying to Washington, D.C., Donald Trump ordered an attack. Now, this was supposed to be a quick and easy war, lasting a matter of days, if not just a couple of weeks. Three big objectives: one, regime change, the ultimate objective, toppling the Islamic element of the Islamic Republic of Iran by murdering the supreme leader, the supreme religious figure in a deeply religious nation, and seeking to assassinate other regime officials and senior military officers in hopes of having a political collapse that would create the opportunity for pro-American, pro-Western opposition figures to rise up and seize control. And in doing so, they solved the other two big issues that the United States wanted to deal with. Again, the nuclear component, by having a new government in charge, of course, they would shut down Iran's nuclear program and thereby terminate all concern about a potential military application. And then Iran's ballistic missile program, which the United States also wanted curtailed, a new government would again terminate this program. The problem is the United States achieved none of these objectives. In fact, it's worse than that. When the conflict ended 37 days after we began it, it was done at the behest of the United States because three things were apparent. One, the regime had become stronger, not weaker. Two, we had zero impact on Iran's nuclear program. We didn't know where 400 plus kilograms of or pounds of highly enriched uranium, or again, 60% enriched uranium were, and we didn't know how to get it, even if we did know where it was. The nuclear program was totally outside of our span of control, not where we wanted it to be. And three, Iran's ballistic missile program, we couldn't eradicate it, we couldn't nullify it, we couldn't neutralize it. It was alive and well and living and causing extreme damage to American military bases in the region and the military and economic facilities of our regional allies and Israel. So we asked for peace. And since that time, Donald Trump's been trying to spin this apparent defeat into a political victory by trying to achieve at the negotiating table that which he couldn't achieve at the battlefield, by bluffing, bullying, cajoling Iran into somehow surrendering the advantages that they had gained by prevailing in this 37-day war against the United States and Israel. Two nuclear-armed nations brought to heel by a conventionally armed regional power. Donald Trump has been threatening to resume the war ever since. Now, what's curious is that, the statements made by the Trump administration usually come in the form of social media postings, but also the odd public statement, all seem to be timed to have an impact on markets. This is the grift component of war. You see, it appears that Donald Trump is parlaying fears and concerns, in particular about the oil based economy of the world, which is at risk now because of America's failure to achieve a fourth objective, that is, securing the Strait of Hormuz and therefore gaining control over the flow of oil, not only from Iran, but also from the entire Middle East region. That would give the United States the ability to have leverage over nations like China, which is heavily dependent upon this oil flow. But the oil, the price of oil has been going up and been going down. And if somebody had insider information, say like when America was going to attack or if America wasn't going to attack, you could either go long or you could go short, but you could game the market and make an awful lot of money. And apparently there's a lot of people making an awful lot of money. This was brought to Donald Trump's attention. He said, well, the American economy is like a casino. No, it's not, Donald. The American economy is supposed to be founded on basic fundamental principles that doesn't involve gambling. It involves, manufacturing, selling things at market value, sound capitalization, things of this nature. But no, that's not how Donald Trump and company is working. They're running a grift, a scam, a con, and they're basically carrying out one of the greatest acts of financial fraud in the history of the United States, where the President of the United States is using the powers he possesses because of the Constitution to, employ or threaten to employ American military power. He's doing this to generate fluctuations in the market that are then exploited for his and the people around him financial gain. Just the other day, he was threatening to bomb Iran. He said, I was an hour away from unleashing hell on Iran. I mean, we're talking, according to Donald Trump, the kind of nation-ending exercise that 37 days of bombing couldn't achieve. But apparently, somehow, he's found the magic formula to turn ineffective bombing into effective bombing. But he stopped it, again, timed for the markets, and and banked a lot of money. And now he's saying that he may bomb Iran again. Timed for the weekend. It could happen Saturday. It could happen Sunday. It could happen Monday. He doesn't know, but it could happen. He's going to do it. He's going to bomb Iran if they don't cave in and give him that which he couldn't get at the battlefield. And if you look at it, we do see the grift. Congress is going to do nothing because they're banking money too. Understand this. The members of Congress are up there saying, if you don't give us a raise, understand that we have no choice but to play the marketplace. Wait a minute. Play the marketplace with the kind of guaranteed returns that you see to begin. That's not playing the marketplace. That's exploiting the marketplace using insider information, something the president and Congress seems to have in common. But now let's get back to the war aspect of it. Having done which the president hasn't done, which is actually plan and execute a winning military campaign, I can tell you the following. You don't stop a military strike an hour before it goes in without causing a whole bunch of problems. People need to respect the fact that there are military professionals who are tasked with doing unpleasant jobs. One of those jobs is to carry out attacks against targets that have been designated to be struck by the lawful command authority. That is the civilian leadership of the United States, the president, Secretary of Defense, through the various, uniformed members of the chain of command in the military, central command, etc. When you get a target, you need the most updated intelligence on this. So you got to run a lot of intelligence missions, and then that has to be factored into mission planning. You've got to decide, what the target looks like, what it's constructed with, what effects do you want on the target? How do you plan on destroying it? What munitions are needed? Where do these munitions need to strike? What aircraft carry these munitions? Then how do you get the aircraft from where they are to where they need to be to launch these munitions? And you have to do this hundreds of times to have a strike package. Requires refueling plans. It requires combat air patrol. I mean, you have to put fighter aircraft up to make sure the enemy doesn't put fighter aircraft up to shoot down your aircraft as they go in. You need electronic warfare profiles. Again, flying intelligence missions to find out where the enemy air defense is laid out, where their radars are, figuring out how to jam them, have a jamming plan. I mean, this is extensive. If you're using aircraft carriers, how to maneuver the aircraft carrier into place so you can launch the aircraft in the position to recover the aircraft, all the while having a screen out there to prevent the aircraft carrier from being attacked by enemy cruise missiles, enemy drones, etc. This is complicated stuff. It takes days to put together a strike package. And if you pull the plug in an hour, you undo everything. Everything gets reset. And now the president's saying he's going to, maybe strike Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't work that way. This president is lying. Either he's never going to strike, which I believe might be the case, because the reason why he pulled the plug 1 hour before, giving the orders to bomb is the claims he received 3 phone calls from Saudi Arabia, I think Qatar, and United Arab Emirates saying, if you attack Iran, they're going to attack us and destroy all our energy infrastructure. We don't want that to happen. So the president did the right thing. Well, I think those phone calls were made before the 1 hour, and he always knew that he was going to pull the plug. And the same logic that applied then applies today. If the United States attacks Iran, the Iranian response will be extraordinarily devastating, not only for the United States and what's left of our military infrastructure in the region, for Israel, but also for the oil-producing nations of the region that provide facilities that assist in the American military action against Iran. The United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, first and foremost. Iran has said that they will strike the energy production facilities of these nations decisively, destroying them. And that'll be the end of the economies of these major oil-producing nations. They don't want their economies to be terminated, so they have pleaded to the president, don't do this. Those pleas still stand. But see, the president isn't honest enough to tell the American people that we have to pursue difficult diplomacy, because he's playing the grift. Now we get back to war as a grift. And he plans on making one more financial killing this weekend by, threatening war, talking tough, getting the market to go one way, then declaring peace, getting the market to fluctuate the other way, and banking the proceeds therefore. War is a grift, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the United States under the leadership of President Donald Trump, the worst leader America has ever known during wartime in its entire history. That's what my rant for the day. Next time a thought crosses my mind, I'll be sure to let you know.